So guys, Datamines show some very interesting things that got added today, so thank you Gszabi and Prey for actually doing the Datamines. So let's actually take a look on some of them, the most interesting ones of course, and we're gonna start with a pretty crazy one. Let's see over here if it is actually working. Let me just see. We're gonna test fly this thing. It might be really bugged. Let's see. It is actually... I think it's okay, but I don't know. Hold up. So let's see. Maybe it will work now. Sometimes it is pretty weird. Let's go. Yeah, there you go. Jesus Christ. Yes. So, yeah, guys, the Fokker 23 now has the 3,000 kilometers per hour spawn speed, right? So if you spawn in, you will basically be at 3,000 kilometers per hour and the aircraft just destroys itself because it's so fast. So yeah, it was a bug that was fixed. Now it is, you know, back here again, right? So it was the first thing that I wanted to show to you guys. Pretty interesting. But yeah, guys, another thing is that they added volumetric fog apparently for the game. It is hidden for now, but apparently it will be something that will be added, which is interesting, right? They added some other changes, like for example to the Hawks, minor changes, but the two Hawks over here, they're gonna compress a little bit more, okay, a little bit more, not by much, but a little bit more. They are finishing up the touches on the fly model of the Cheyenne over here. It's a little bit better overall. The feeling of it is a little bit more realistic, I would say, than what it was before. So yeah, but you can still use it as a proper, you know, fixed wing aircraft, as you can see. So it is pretty interesting, right? But they are just fixing it up. Some of the lift coefficients, some of the drag coefficients, here and there, small changes. So you will feel some changes in some specific ways that you fly, but it's nothing that really changes up, I don't think, anything too crazy, okay? It is, like I said, it just feels a little bit more realistic. Like I said before, on the Fokker 23, but now we're gonna talk about real stuff over here. Yeah, the cockpit had some changes and some fixes. I think now it is 100% ready, as you can see. So, very simple cockpit, of course. It's a very old aircraft, but very, very cool to have working cockpits like this. Just very well made. Another cockpit that got fully added is the Su-30 Mk2 as well, right? So now it has a proper cockpit, as you see. Very cool. A very normal Su-30 cockpit, but it's still pretty cool to have it looking like this. So very, very nice. The Tornado, the new Tornado, the SLE, right, has its thing properly mentioned here. And also... the RWR got fixed, so now it has 100 tracked threats they can actually detect, right, and track. It can actually identify types of SAMs and stuff. So very cool. Just a more advanced RWR for the Tornado IDS, since it's a more modernized aircraft, right? And on the MB326K over here, we have kind of an interesting buff. So now it is using the Mach 632-43 biped engine from Rolls-Royce, right, which produces a little bit more thrust, and with that it has a little bit more of a better acceleration, speed, overall, just a better aircraft overall, right? And one thing that it's pretty interesting, it actually can take more bombs and rockets in weight, which is great to hear. So a little bit of a buff. Very small, but very cool. Of course, I already talked about this, but basically all the Challengers, you know, apart from the Challenger 2E over here, which is a version that already has a better engine, but all the DS, the OES, the 2F, TES, the Challenger Mark 2 and 3, the ones, right, and also the Khalid, they got improvement on the engine. It's a small improvement of 100 horsepower, more or less, but... increase severely the amount of acceleration that this thing has. I already did a video about it, but you basically decrease like 3 seconds of 0 to 50 kilometers per hour on these tanks, right? So it's pretty great, a pretty good change, and it makes a lot of difference. The Challenger 3 TD actually almost accelerates as fast as a Leopard 2A7, right now. So it's a great change that they actually did. So I already talked about this, but still you get I just wanted to mention these in this video. They did some changes to the CM32, adding basically more spall liners and everything, and also the armor. It's a little bit better overall, just more ready, kind of, right? Together with that, they increased the amount of, thermals for some, for some over here. So, for example, the thermals now, if I'm not mistaken, on the gunner, they are of a third generation, if I'm not mistaken. It was a second generation, if I'm not mistaken, right? So just overall, an increase in the ability. Does it appear here? I don't think it does, right? But you get the point, right? It's just much better than what it was before. So yeah, very good. The Sea Eagle missile, guys, it is not ready yet, but they did do a change in here. Well, they basically increased the mass of the missile and the amount of explosive mass. As you can see, now it has 309 kilograms of TNT equivalent, which is insane. This thing will destroy almost any ship with a few missiles. It's a very, very strong, much more powerful than any other, like by far any other anti-ship missile in the game. So very interesting, right? Again, doesn't have a lot of, of things to talk about over here. We can even test it out a little bit to see if the fly model itself is a little bit different. But overall, it has an increasing range as well. It can hit up targets up to like 110 kilometers. So just overall, the Sea Eagle got kind of a buff, and it is overall just a better missile. So let's just test it out here to see what it can actually do with one missile. Let's wait just for the ships to appear. It takes a little bit of time, as you can see. There we go. So as you can see, let's drop it. Still spinning like a crazy missile, but it will have a little bit more range, and it will have more damage. So let's see what it actually does. So yeah, it's gonna hit the target right in the middle there. As you can see, it killed a cone with one missile. So it's a pretty good missile, man. Really, really good missile. It has so much, so much TNT that it just explodes everything, right? So it's gonna be a very interesting missile when we start to use it against players' ships, when we are able to do that, okay? For the EBRC Jaguar, guys, we had some changes to it. I noticed that there were some things over here, but pretty much the main one is that we have an APF STS change. It is penetrating a little bit less, if I'm not mistaken, than what it was, like 2 millimeters less. And also, then I think it's the main change over here, the MMP ATGM, which is the Acheron, right? It does have some various amounts of changes with multipliers, booster forces, burn time, everything, okay? So at the end of the day, it doesn't change much, but the major changes are that it will be lofting with a little bit more of an angle, depending on situation, if I'm not mistaken. And also, it has an increased flight range of 5 kilometers, right? The guidance duration got increased to 50 seconds as well. It says that it's 4 kilometers, the max range, but it's supposed to be like 5, the maximum that it can, right? And basically has a little bit more of a booster with less force a little bit. So it's just overall differences in flight models over here. Overall, increasing range and, battery time, basically, right? And the minimum range now, it's 160 meters. Before it was 200, so it's a bit better, slightly, right? And the last thing, guys, that I wanted to mention to you is that the Oplot over here, it got its name changed, right? So the Pakistani Oplot, it was before Oplot P, and it is now an Oplot M. And there is a controversy behind the model itself and stuff, and apparently it will remain like this, okay? So nothing too crazy, let's be honest, nothing too crazy, but it's still pretty cool to see these changes being made. We are getting readier and readier for the dev server to be fully ready so that we can actually have this patch release finally, okay? So see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye guys, see you.